Today is Tuesday, November 28th, 2023. And by the way, we have breaking news. Breaking news. Literally, as I hit the go live button, we were just talking about it. Justin Jefferson is being activated off the injured reserve. Blake Walley's favorite team is the Minnesota Vikings. His second favorite team is the Cleveland Browns. Close second favorite. But yeah, Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is back for the first time in feels like all damn season, Blake. How are you, sir?
Great. He's ready just in time for the bye week. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Go figure. Yeah, the Browns are missing almost all of our players, and our bye week was like in week 5. It's like, come on. We need a chance to catch our breath here. It's like 70-80% of our offense is injured. And then Miles went down, and luckily he felt a pop, but it's no structural damage, luckily enough. But we're discussing sports to start the show because today's show is going to dive right into a major sports figure, Conor McGregor. The question is, do you agree or disagree? Well, I guess I phrased it wrong, but will Conor McGregor take over Ireland, or will he be imprisoned? It's some odd parallels between Conor McGregor and Donald Trump, if you will. Larger-than-life characters either save the country or get thrown in the clink. So we're going to talk about that. If you're watching today's episode being streamed on the Unhappy Hour Sports Show, that is a show that I do for the New American Media, TNAM Sports. So thank you for joining us on that regard. We'll start with that story, and then we'll work into current events and other goings-ons, the politics of the day, breaking news and news stories that you should know about, so you can leave after the sportsiness of the beginning of the show. But yes, that's why we are here today. Blake Walley is joining. He runs an outfit called thenewamericanmedia.com. So go check him out there at thenewamericanmedia.com and follow him on X. He is at TV's BLAKE WALLEY. Blake, over the weekend, you had a chance to go to a Bitcoin thingamajigger, right? Thingammy? Yeah. How was it?
It was very good. I mean, it was like a last minute thing. I kept weighing in because it was like going to be a long drive and a big ordeal, trying to make some connections. So it was a last minute road trip that I took to Charlotte, North Carolina, because Max Kaiser was speaking there. Living legend himself. Yeah, quite a character. Yes, he was recently in the news for offering Alex Jones a second chance to win 10,000 Bitcoin. So yeah, he's kind of a big deal. And I guess his girlfriend Stacy is. I guess she's got some family out there in North Carolina too. And there's a big Bitcoin Charlotte. So they have a collection of people that get together like once a month. They do little activities, and so they had Max. They come up from El Salvador and speak. So I wanted to definitely get out there and reach out and make that connection and maybe get a little footage. See how it turns out. I got my brand new GoPro. We'll see how it turns out. Get a little bit of something there, but it's always good to meet some of the people. I've been following Max for like 12 years or something. He's always been up there, a frequent visitor on the Alex Jones show, frequently involved in economic freedom things, related subjects, going after JP Morgan, crashing JP Morgan with Silver, Liberation Army, which I was a part of. And also, one of the, basically the OG of Bitcoin, even, way before Michael Saylor. So it was really cool to go out there and to meet up. So I don't know if I do have a picture. I don't know if I can.
Can you share it on Telegram? Because I know you sent it through me on Telegram, right?
Yeah, I was like, hey, I did go because I was talking about maybe you should go, but it would have been a long drive for you. It was like a 5-hour drive, plus there was post Thanksgiving traffic or what have you.
What city was it near? Was it Charlotte, Winston, Greensboro, Raleigh?
Yeah,
Charlotte. Yeah.
So
I mean, it would have been. I would have been hoofing it. That would have been quite the hike.
I didn't know if you could fly or what have you.
I do actually have a. Geez, thank you for that note. I have some airline miles that I need to check. I need to use. I had a credit card, but it has like a yearly fee on it. and I wasn't using the airline miles enough to justify keeping it, so I canceled it. So I think I have 90 days. I need to use it on something. So yeah, if I don't do the Charlotte thing, here, let me double click that for you. If I don't do the Charlotte thing, I need to go somewhere and use it. There he is, Max Kaiser.
Yeah.
And I said, Max speaks tomorrow. That kind of crept up on me because Blake was like, hey, let's go. And just didn't go. I don't know. Life gets in the way. You got a million things to do. It's hard to want to get away.
Yeah, I pretty much talked myself out of it by Saturday morning. And then, as it turned out, I couldn't get my work schedule back. So I was like, well, what am I going to do now? Like I traded work with this girl, and I was like, you know what? You don't want to work Sunday, I'll work it because I don't think I can make it out to Charlotte. And she's like, no, I want to work Sunday. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to stay at home. There's no Vikings game, which, I wish I would have missed anyway, the Monday night game. But stay at home, not
4 interceptions, 5 interceptions.
Yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal. And I could have won some money on that too. I had a 14 parlay with the Vikings. That would have been like $100. And I had another side bet for like $20. Yeah, it was a tough day, tough night to be a Vikings fan and to just watch that. It was an ugly game too. It wasn't really entertaining, but anyway, it was. It
was a tough game. I'm a Justin Fields fan, and I got CJ Moore in a couple leagues. But hey, I want to say real quick, hello to Dreamer Ultra. I want to say hello to Deb from SAC.
Yeah.
She's saying she finally caught us live. What's up? Dreamer's saying, speaking of sports, the media torched that poor young man trying to enjoy a football game in Chiefs gear. Sad. Did you see that story, Blake?
Which one? On the Chiefs gear?
Yeah, kid wears the headdress of a Chief, and he's got his face painted half and half, the two colors of the team, black and red. And so some clown takes a picture of the one side of his face that's black, and it's like, how dare you paint your face in a color, especially that color? I don't get that whole thing. We're so far removed from minstrel shows and slavery and all of that stuff. It's like people are celebrating their team and they're wearing their team colors, but they take a picture, they omit what it was. And then they try to ruin this 9-year-old kid's life. They did the same to a kid, I think in San Diego. He had war paint all over underneath on his cheeks, down his face. Like, how dare you wear blackface? It's like, it's the eye black, you idiots. What is with you people just having to turn a celebration into an outrage? I can't stand these people that just everything has to be a cataclysmic outrage. It's just insanity, Blake. I don't know. Did you see that story either?
I saw it on the Babylon Bee.
Kind of came down like the Ultimate Warrior, almost kind of like.
Yeah. He's just a fanatic. Yeah, he's a sports fan. That's they're normal. But I did see that on the Babylon Bee. I didn't know it was based on a real story, but now I can get it. So you can't dress up like a chief or celebrate your favorite team. Yeah, am I gonna wear Vikings gear and I'm gonna get with the horns? People are gonna freak out. I don't know. So that's pretty sad.
It is. And hey, but speaking of sports, what was that in South Carolina? Did you see President Trump came in and he was booed unmercifully, says Brian Krasenstein. Did you see that story?
Was he dressed with a gamecock? South Carolina? No. No.
I'm sure there's plenty of libs who would call Donald Trump a gamecock, right, minus the game. But no. Did you see that story? Or did you see the video footage by chance?
I saw somebody. I thought it was on the. I think it was on the right, or maybe a DeSantis Republican that was played like an 11-second clip, and it was like, oh, there's Trump arriving, and everyone's booing, everyone hates him. It's like they didn't even show Trump; they just showed like a motorcade or one vehicle pulling in. It's like a big black Suburban, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, people in South Carolina hate Trump. I'm like, really? Okay, here's your 11 seconds of proof. I'm like, nah.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. If you take 6 seconds to figure out what the story is, you understand that it's not what they're purporting it to be. I guess what it was, and I could probably pull this up real quick since we're doing everything sports front loaded here. I'm going to go to our Twitter X page. Follow us. We're at American_. media _. Let me scroll back a little bit, show 35 posts. Let me go to profile. Yeah, follow us at American _media _. There we have our upside down American flag because we are a nation in distress. From sports to spirituality, comedy to Congress, and freedom to firearms, seeking truth, challenging dogma, and having fun, join the mostly civil conversation. Hey, there's our live show. It's like Inception. So here, I'm just going to scroll back a little bit to try to obtain some of this footage, Blake, because in a way, they were both legitimate situations. And it's tough for me to say that because it's so disingenuous what was out there. It really wasn't accurate, but in a way it was. I'd love to keep scrolling if my computer would stop doing that spinny thinking thing. But when Donald Trump pulled up and before he went onto the field, they were announcing the opposing team. So what happens, Blake? Say you're at a Vikings game. Say you're in Minnesota and they're playing the Cleveland Browns, who had a really tough loss. Hopefully we still make the playoffs. We'll see. But imagine we're playing and they're announcing the Cleveland Browns. What do you expect that stadium to sound like?
They would boo, but yeah, definitely for like, the Bears or the Packers or something like that. But yeah, that's customary for any of the rival teams, the opposition, to get booed. That's a standard operating procedure at any stadium, at any worthy home crowd. So that's how they're manipulating it, huh?
Yeah, and here we go. Democrats are salty because President. Well, here let's just check out when Donald Trump makes the appearance. Democrats are salty because Trump made an appearance in South Carolina and is cheered like a conquering hero. Meanwhile, Joe Biden avoids making public appearances like this because he'd know he'd be unmercifully booed. So that doesn't quite capture when he walks out, because the walk out is one of the best parts of it. Here, let me. I put several of these out there. They should be back to back. Yeah, this is Simon Ateba. He's saying, "I promise." Okay, here you go. This guy puts a thumbs down, and two people say boo. So maybe that guy yelled something. Meanwhile, there's 80,000 people going bananas in this place. So that was disingenuous. Here's another view. They're booing because they're announcing the other team. So clearly that's what's happening before Trump goes out there, because that's the warm-up. Randy Savage says, I was in the stands taking footage of South Carolina fans booing their Clemson rivals as they took the field to warm up. The pathetic spin attempts of the media trying to make it seem like the crowd booed Trump is ridiculous. This is Trump country, MAGA hats and Trump 2024 flags, blah, blah, blah. So here's Brian Krasenstein. Below you will see Trump getting booed and shouted down. Yeah, by two people. I said, look at the fake news guy pushing more fake news. I'm pretending to be shocked.
Nice.
There were several good videos of when he literally walks out. For some reason, I'm not able to find it, and we have a tight show today, so I don't need to spend too much more time on it. But yeah, it's clear that this was completely manipulated into something it wasn't, Blake. I think you got a little taste of it. But when Trump walks out, I was trying to find that video. I couldn't find it for some reason right there. When he walks out initially, it's pandemonium. The people went nuts. They love.
It's amazing they go out of their way to take things out of context. Hate Trump all you want, but I mean, come on. You're like trying to manipulate your followers by acting like he's being booed, and you're taking, a few snippets out of something, out of a whole football game. And and this is a big rivalry week in college football. So, Clemson and South Carolina, so many teams are just, within the in-state rivalries. So, of course, Clemson's going to be booed. So, Sad as usual, but more media
Yeah, I don't.
manipulation, and the Krasensteins are always in there trying to get clickbait.
Yeah, I don't really want to talk about matchup weekend because the Ohio State Buckeyes had a really tough go. Really painful loss to that team up north, especially after their cheating scandal was exposed. All right, I
Well, Mike
found
is
what it
here. He
is. This is
says
where
that he was definitely booed. Some cheers, but lots of people booed him. There could be. There could be some. I think South Carolina is pretty much, Trump country. But
Trump
who
country.
knows?
Here's the clip of where he walks from the tunnel. Hopefully, this will be more of what I was trying to find before. Crowd erupting. Everybody. I mean, imagine being at a game and this president walks out. I mean, how cool would that be?
Well, you couldn't have Biden show up. He would get booed. They knew it. Somebody said that.
Some flags in the crowd. Yeah, if they'd start chanting, let's go Brandon. You know that's what would happen. If Brandon tried to walk, he's named Brandon because of what they tried to pull with NASCAR. But this applause just goes on and on. It was pretty cool. Skip to when he walks off. Here we go. It was just, this is, look at this. Not even close. Everybody has their phones out trying to capture a moment of this. Two dorks put a thumbs down and boo. And so that becomes a story that Krasenstein, these intentional media manipulators, the ones that Krasenstein, oh, Trump was booed unmercifully, bullshit. And then the ones that are like, oh, look at this Chiefs fan. He puts his face in a color that you can't use when you paint your face. It's like, just look at the picture of the kid. You guys are the worst. The ones that intentionally manipulate reality. And that's one of the biggest concerns right now, Blake. It's a story we haven't even talked about. Sam Altman, he got kicked out of ChatGPT or whatever that company is. And then they brought him back, but now they got some of the creepy people from Obama's administration running it. And it's like, it's so important what you feed into these things and the parameters that you give them. Elon and Scott Adams and other people were just talking about it last week, that it wouldn't save 1 million people if you gave them certain parameters. Like, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on AI or Sam Altman as well? Because it's just about manipulating reality into something that it's not. And this thought that, like, oh, ChatGPT and artificial intelligence will save us. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Any thoughts?
I'm pretty skeptical about all of it and how it can be used against us. And I'm not quite sure what to think about the Sam Altman thing. I haven't really dug into that a whole lot, but it was obviously a huge PR disaster that they got rid of him. But then I'm hearing that he's, like his own sister, like he's got issues internally, and a lot of people don't like him for whatever reason. And I don't know how this stuff is going to be used against us. You did show me a video, and there was things with like Larry Summers being involved, which was terrifying. So, it started out, some of the initial ChatGPT things were promising, and it was interesting how an AI could, dig into all of the issues of the day and find out truth. But then they started manipulating the algorithm. Then it kind of became like woke and weird. And now you can't really get some of the information. And then it's they've changed it. So they've skewed it to get the results that they want. And it won't give you some of the data that's out there because of weird biases and things that they put into it.
And that was something that Scott Adams was talking about. It's one of the main topics that he gets into. One of the reasons I enjoy the show. It's not all politics, but he goes over a lot of polling data on his shows, and then he also gets into kind of like Styx, gets into his new tech exclusives, and Scott Adams gets into a lot of the AI stuff. And some of it was that if you put the parameters in to ask about medical issues and say, show me the doctor, compile a list of the doctors who have had this opinion on it. Like, they refuse to show you an opinion that is not the WHO opinion. And it's like, that's not science. That's anti-science. That is the opposite of science. That is complete propaganda. And the one thing you need to know about propaganda is that it is to never be trusted. And if someone is too scared to debate their opinion, you've got to really question the motivations and the actual intent of what they're trying to do. I mean, the concept of who are we? How did we get here? Where do we go when we die? What is God? Is there an afterlife? How is ChatGPT? How is an artificial intelligence going to tell you? No, Islam is the one. No, Judaism is the one. No, Christianity is the one. No, it's Buddhism. No, it's just calling it Zen in the universe. No, there is nothing. Nothing created everything. It's the Big Bang. What created the Big Bang? Nothing. What? There are some questions that are unknowable. So you must allow a open conversation. And anybody that has to narrow that, and we'll get to that story in a little bit about there's only one God and there's only one way to worship, and anybody else be damned. We'll get to that toward the end of the show. But, you know, Blake, these topics have to be openly discussed. And we're starting to lose the internet. We're going to get into that with Ireland in just a second, with Conor McGregor and how they're taking draconian steps to shut down speech. And if you have a meme on your phone, like Elon tweeted out, you can get thrown in the slammer for having a meme. Like, we're on the verge of losing the internet here. And if we do, God help us all, if there is a God.
Yeah, no, the ChatGPT, it had a way of like cutting through all the BS and the noise and the bias, and was delivering like hardcore truth. I think that started to freak them out because they kind of want to control and steer narratives toward a certain direction, and they weren't getting the data they wanted. So then they had to change it.
Do you think that was because I know that everybody got freaked out, but Elon got freaked out. Elon would have liked not being able to control the narrative, but he's one of the major proponents of, we got to stop this. We got to stop and figure out what. So if that's the case, I don't know that I would buy that's the reason why they shut it down, Blake. That's an interesting theory, though, that it wasn't manipulatable.
Yeah.
I've never said that before. But you think that could be why they shut ChatGPT down? Because
they changed it because of that. Yes. Because it counteracted all the, the different narratives that they were pushing out there. Whether it was, pushing for war with Russia or COVID or any number of different narratives, or, Trump as a, Russian spy, or, so many things that turned out to be BS. And we knew it was BS. And ChatGPT knew it was BS. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we got to fix this so it doesn't go too out of control. But yeah, it's still the bigger, the bigger picture is that, yes, this can be very dangerous and used against us. Humans are not that wise. And
like 51 intelligence officials said that we're not money laundering.
They would know.
With Ukraine.
Imagine the power of AI if it was neutral and it could cut through that and give us the straight truth. Because everything is all divided and shifted, and it's got the human equation of either making mistakes or manipulating it or trying to steer things in a different direction. And so that became a problem. And it's we don't want Skynet, we don't want or the wrong people. So I don't know about the Sam Altman, Brian. I don't know how well you know that, or can we trust this guy? Or anybody.
I don't trust any of them.
No.
I don't trust Elon. I know that Elon has done some amazing things. I know that he says a lot of amazing things. I could say the same about Vivek. He says some amazing things. By the way, do you see that Mitt Romney, it's a story that's not in our stack, but Mitt Romney said there's a lot of, I'll vote for almost any of the Republicans except for Trump or Vivek. And he might vote Democrat. Did you catch that over the weekend as well?
Say that again. I got distracted there.
Mitt Romney said that there's a lot. I would vote for a lot of the Republicans, but I will not vote for Trump or Vivek. I like Joe Biden personally, and I could even consider voting Democrat. It's like, you unipartyist piece of garbage.
Well, that doesn't surprise me at all. Of course not. No. He's always been, a globalist. He was basically a liberal Democrat. He ran for, governor. What was it, Massachusetts?
No, Romney's Utah.
Yeah, but wasn't he the governor before? Anyway, he's always been a hack, and yes, he's a deep stater, and he's always going to go for those candidates, and so he's going to, of course, go for a Nikki Haley, and he's never going to consider a Trump or a libertarian. It's not like if Ron Paul beat him in 2012 that he was going to endorse Ron Paul. So he probably would have, went for the other side. He probably would have voted for Obama before he voted for Ron Paul. So yeah, Mitt Romney's bad news, always has been. And yes, he needs to go. So yeah, no surprise.
But the weird thing is, it's like, I wish someone would put someone with Mitt Romney's talent stack into the budgetary process of just like, what are we doing passing these continuing resolutions? We're about ready to go bankrupt. We're 33 trillion.
At this point, it doesn't even matter. Yeah, 33.
It's just so.
Yeah, we're never going to pay it off. Yeah.
Quadrillion. Deb from SAC is saying it's pronounced manipulate-able. Manipulate-able. So anyway, okay, let's jump into the number one topic of today's program, Blake.
Okay.
All right. So agree or disagree here, Blake, that Ireland is at war following riots and violence at Parliament?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. They've got an identity issue now, and this has become a problem. It's nice to, welcome, immigrants to your country. They're, trying to get out of a bad situation. They're good people. They want to embrace your culture. And it's another thing when they just want to bring their culture there. And there was a problem with somebody that they were, I guess, trying to deport years ago, who was a problematic individual who managed to stay in Ireland. And eventually, many years later, after they've tried to arrest him, after they've had issues, and then years later, he stabs some kids outside of a school. That's bad news. This should never have happened. I guess, nobody wants to take this person in, and they can't arrest him. It's just but this is the problem. It's coming back to haunt some of these countries that have had these loose immigration policies, or Great Britain, France, United States, and if we're not getting the right people, then this can be a problem.
Because in your intro you talked about immigrants being great people. Well, that's no more true than saying white people are great, black people are great, Germans are great, Canadians are great. That's not true. There are good and bad in all. And you need to thoroughly sift and bring in the qualified good people who are going to contribute to your society. The reports I was reading was that the guy came in. Where'd he come in
Algeria.
from? Was it Algeria?
Yeah, a long time ago.
And 23 years. And the story was that he's never worked once, and he's always been on the dole, taking money out of all those hardworking Ireland people's pockets. Like, how did this guy get citizenship to just show up and take?
Right.
If someone showed up onto your little fishing boat and all they did was scoop up buckets of water and pour water into your boat, they're not contributing fish. They're helping sink you. They're a drain on your ability to float. With rampant inflation, all the problems that are going on, everybody's struggling. And who's there helping the people of Ireland, the Irish? Apparently nobody. And it's like, okay, yeah, some immigration to kind of spice it up and mix things up. Yeah, some once it's been thoroughly sifted, and you shouldn't just be able to become a citizen. You shouldn't just be able to vote. Like, this is something like, if I went somewhere else, I would kind of expect the same thing. It's like, yeah, well, if you can be here for a decade or two and not cause any problems, all right, or have some sort of transitional visa where it's like, look, you're halfway to home. This is like you hit a double. You fingerprint me, you run your background checks on me, I come up clean. Here's my information. I've gone through the steps. You know where to find me. I'll check in once a year. I'll show you proof of employment, and then if I earn it over time, I get to become a part of your country. I don't understand how any sovereign country could be allowing just massive amounts of whatever, whatever. We'll see. There's some good people and there's some monsters. And this guy, he stabbed 3 kids and 2 adults. What do we know about the details of this, Blake? I don't know what stories you have pulled up, because then there's another angle after Conor gets in with I don't know what this lady's doing, but she's talking about restricting the rights of the people of Ireland, and if we can talk about what the riots were, and because the riots are spreading. They're in France, they're in Spain, they're in Ireland. People are sick of this. These are people that have lived in that area generationally for a long time, and there's people coming in just taking money from them and causing violence, and they've had enough.
Yeah, I agree, and I that should be the immigration policy. You come in, and they should keep tabs on you to make sure you're developing, you're assimilating into the culture, you're into the language, you've got employment, you're a good citizen, that kind of a thing. Before
you've learned the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the history of this country, and you want to be here. If you get drafted to the Minnesota Vikings, be like, I don't want to learn your played at Auburn. You're like, well, then get out of here. Then go back to Auburn. Oh, how dare you? You're collegeist. You're a footballist.
Yep, like Johnny Manziel.
No. Yep. Either be here and on this team, but you got to learn the language of our team. You have to well, I want you to pay me double. Well, we have a contract. I don't know. Pay me more. How about no? How about go away?
Yeah, no, I agree. And so now we're going to have to reevaluate things, all of these different countries, and say, who are we letting in here? And so people are losing their sovereignty and losing their rights. So let me dig into a few stories, because I'm trying to learn it myself after a very busy holiday weekend.
Yeah, we're all shaking the trip to travel and the cobwebs in our brains after all that fancy Thanksgiving.
That's right. We were off Thursday, and then Friday football weekend. Then me taking a giant road trip to North Carolina. Kind of got lost and everything. So here we go. It's running back. This is from Thanksgiving. Fiery protests breaking out in Ireland over mass immigration after mass stabbing outside of a school.
By the way, that headline, Blake, does that say fiery but mostly peaceful protest? Because that's what they said during BLM. That was a fiery but mostly peaceful protest as America burned nonstop.
Yeah, it's clearly a reference here from Chris Menahan out of Information Liberation. The fiery but mostly peaceful protests against mass immigration broke out in Ireland.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that was there. That's hilarious. Okay.
Yeah, it was intentional. 5 people, including 3 children, were stabbed by an Algerian immigrant outside a school in Dublin. So this was it was a kind of a breaking story at that time. Following in the timeline here, we get our Irish Parliament protected by a ring of steel following stabbing of 3 innocent children. I won't get into too much more. We have a child in the stabbing attack. They had a little memorial set up. Here's Jack Posobiec is putting this out. I don't know if I switched these here. Still have I guess a couple of people have had been discharged. Another girl remains in critical condition, along with a teaching assistant. Here's the memorial there. And then the Irish superstar mixed martial arts fighter Conor McGregor been very vocal about this, very upset about what's happening in his native Ireland and the policy of the government. Now, but he's under investigation now for, quote, online hate speech. It's following the remarks after children were stabbed by in Dublin. So one of their most prominent celebrities in the eye of a new storm, currently under investigation for comments. Let's see. Did you pull it up, Brian? What is that little? Or you got something else too? All right. Following the.
Oh yeah, I had something else.
Yeah, okay. So this is kind of where we got the headline, or if we're doing the show. He says, Ireland, we are at war, and you reap what you sow. And then McGregor then lashed out at the police commissioner after his limp-wristed response to the attack and resulting rioting. Here's the quote: innocent children, this is from Conor McGregor, ruthlessly stabbed by a mentally deranged non-national in Dublin. Our chief of police had this to say on the riots and the aftermath. Not good enough. There is grave danger among us in Ireland that should never be here in the first place, and there has been zero action done to support the public in any way, shape, or form. It's not good enough. Make change or make way. Ireland for the victory.
And by the way,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to jump in here because this is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right here. Don't let them stop you from winning. This is a tweet from Niner. We're not going anywhere. If you keep attacking us, you know what will happen. Leave this country now. Conor McGregor was right. The war for Ireland is on. They're being invaded just like America's being invaded. Europe is being invaded. It is, will Conor McGregor become the prime minister of Ireland? I mean, it's got to be better than what they have now, you would think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not all these World Economic Forum stooges, these these globalists. Yeah, all these countries have been infiltrated, and so it makes you wonder, who's running it and who are they taking orders from, and they're just destroying cultures and sovereignty worldwide in all of these countries. So they don't want so many immigrants put in.
They don't want us to have a history. They don't want streets named after people. This is right out of George Orwell's 1984. They want to topple the statues. They don't. It's about blending everything into a shade of gray, where nobody should have autonomy. It's like autonomy is great. The United States are 50 unique states that share some sort of general bounds. Some sort of general boundaries, some sort of general identity. And yeah, these globalist weirdos, they can't stand it. They are such a threat. I don't know why these air quote leaders are not getting arrested in mass. These ideologies of Barack Hussein Obama, he's been pushing this stuff since he got into office. It's what they all want to push for. Canada's been lost, our neighbor to the north. Europe is going down. America's has seen, 9 million people, illegal alien invaders? We have no idea who any of these people are.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's time to take a look at the cold realities. Maybe it's awful that this attack had to take place, but now it's a wake-up call for Ireland, and people have to reevaluate immigration policy. What we're doing going forward, and if our leaders have our best interests in mind, or are they getting their strings pulled by the puppet masters at World Economic Forum or Bilderberg Group or what have you? Let's see. We pull up. There's an interesting Paul Joseph Watson video. I think I've only seen about half of it, but there was some interesting moments in here talking about this very situation.
3 children may have been stabbed in broad daylight on the streets of Dublin. Yes, this may have something to do with Ireland having to absorb vast numbers of migrants at breakneck speed. And yes, this may be sparking unprecedented social unrest. But you know what the real problem is? Conor McGregor's social media posts.
That our incitement hatred legislation is just not up to date. It's not up to date for the social media age. We are going to get them.
Shut your mouth.
How dare the MMA star, checks notes, express anger at kids being knifed outside a primary school. Shut him down.
The individuals who post messages and images online that stir up hatred and violence. We are going to get them.
Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing.
Turns out the Algerian migrant who stabbed the kid should have been deported 20 years ago. But the authorities not only let him stay in Ireland, they gave him a passport and full citizenship. The same guy was caught carrying a knife in May, 6 months ago. And instead of getting him off the streets, they did nothing.
You'll do nothing.
Connor's spicy tweets, though, well, that can't be tolerated.
We are going to get them.
Now we learn that the Gardaí, the Irish police, is conducting an investigation into McGregor as part of an inquiry into the dissemination of online hate speech. For what? Being honest.
Just speak the truth. I don't talk trash. I speak the truth.
He condemned the violence and criminality while expressing an opinion shared by the majority of Irish people about the threats posed by mass migration. And he's the one being targeted after all this.
It kind of reminds me of they killed John Lennon, I think, in part because of they fear some of these big celebrities that have just as much power as the government. They have more influence over the people than the government does. And so, the government's freaking out because, they've got to know, Conor McGregor's got a point, and the people are pissed off, and they're out there, they're out there with the, ready with the pitchforks, ready to drag these people out of parliament. Like, why this should never have happened. And then you find out, he should have been deported like 2008 or something. This was totally preventable, and it's their policies that are making this happen. And instead of addressing that and going, we fucked up, now they're just going to go after the people that are pointing this out. And so, yes, he's got a lot more reach and influence on the people than they do. And that's what's really terrifying for them. So I could probably just pause that here. But yes,
well, no, if you have any more of that, because I know his reports are usually pretty quick, because there's a second part to this with that lady talking about freedoms and liberties being sacrificed. I don't know if
I pulled that up. So why don't we run into that one? Here we go.
When you think about it, all law, all legislation is about the restriction of freedom. That's exactly what we're doing here, is we are restricting freedom, but we're doing it for the common good. You will see throughout our Constitution, yes,
it's for the greater good, of course.
Have rights, but they are restricted for the common good. Everything needs to be balanced. And if your views on other people's identities go to make their lives unsafe, insecure, and cause them such deep discomfort that they cannot live in peace, then I believe that it is our job as legislators to restrict those freedoms for the common good.
That's pretty crazy. So, but I mean, they can't take any blame for what's going on. So, it's not good. We don't want retaliation against the peaceful immigrants either. We don't want to just like random okay, now the Irish are going to just start going after all immigrants like they're all bad. They're not. But you've got to be able to differentiate who are the good ones, and the bad ones like that Algerian guy gotta go. They gotta go somewhere, but they cannot be out free like that, especially if he's a complete freeloader too. I mean, I didn't even know that. So if he's contributing nothing, he's just a complete, leech on society. They have to put him in a work camp or something. Sorry, you don't get a free ride. And if you don't embrace the culture, it's amazing that the government isn't doing anything about it. So
right.
Anyway,
this post, Collins for Texas here says Ireland is investigating Conor McGregor for hate speech, air quotes, after criticizing mass immigration after a child was stabbed by a man from Algeria. England arrested Tommy Robinson simply for being present at a political rally. I don't know if you heard that story, Blake.
He's always getting in trouble for something, and he's just usually just standing up for freedom. But
they said Canada canceled the bank accounts of truckers that protested the country's V mandates. Places that call themselves, quote, liberal democracies, end quote, I hope you heard my mocking tone in the quotes, are quickly becoming some of the most illiberal places in the world, Blake.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like they're trying to break us down, though. They don't like that. They'd rather get rid of, do away with the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. They don't want to see that, human freedom being expanded. No, they want control over everything. They want to change society. So, put us under whatever UN Agenda 2030 or the World Economic Forum, and we'll just be, eating bugs. It'll be neo-feudalism, and then it'll be Hunger Games after that. So that's kind of the world we are heading towards. So it's an interesting battle for the narrative. You got Conor McGregor. Now they're just, instead of agreeing with them or saying, he makes a point, but everybody chill out. Let's, evaluate our immigration policy. No, they're going to go after him for hate speech. And of course, Elon's been outspoken too. Establishment is terrified of Elon because that's been, they're trying to bring freedom back there too. So people have freedom of speech online on social media. They can't control the narrative there anymore. So what else? And then, Brian, there was another topic I wanted to discuss about this. We have a new, the Irish socialist counselor, Lillian Senoy Barr, says Irishmen, the terrorists, are the problem, not the migrants stabbing children. So,
of course.
Yeah.
There we go. So Irish terrorists, air quote, are the real problem, not Irish immigrants. Okay, so it's okay for some people to protest and get riled up. It's okay for some people to light some dumpsters on fire and break some windows, but it's not okay for others. Oh, is that the lady that's saying?
Yeah, so she's not even Irish either, obviously. No offense. And that doesn't mean she couldn't be a great Irish immigrant and embrace the culture. but she's not native. I mean, it's amazing to me. So here, let's watch this video here.
Given what happened on Thursday and given the way in which you experienced it and the debate that has taken place since, would you feel safe walking the streets of central Dublin tonight?
Mark, I've been speaking to so many leaders since Friday. In fact, I haven't had a good sleep because we've just been discussing the same issues. People are very fearful. They're terrified of even thinking.
Is that an Irish or is that African? I can't even tell, but it's weird how that kind of blurs, but it's amazing. It's another government bureaucrat and they can't take blame for anything. So here we go.
Will walk on the street, not just in.
And they point this out. She said nothing about children being stabbed, but I mean it's only a minute clip, so I don't know the full context. But it's amazing how they continue to double down. Let's back up.
Central Dublin tonight.
Mark, I've been speaking to so many leaders since Friday. In fact, I haven't had a good sleep because we've just been discussing the same issues. People are very fearful. They're terrified of even thinking they will walk on the street, not just in Dublin, across Ireland right now. They know that there's a voice note circulating on social media calling for people to harm them, killing every immigrant in this country. It is very unsettling.
Oh my God. I don't, it seems so highly exaggerated. Like there's going to be, yes, all of the native Irish people are just going to go attack random immigrants in the street.
Everyone is living on edge right now.
And her accent sound Jamaican. If I were guessing, man, I would guess Jamaican.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's a good accent there, Brian. Yes, it's but yeah.
Hey, it's Irie. Everything Irie.
Yeah, so who is she as an authority to speak on this? This is very bizarre.
Now, and we need to do something about it. We cannot continue ignoring that this is a small minority of far-right movie. It is an organized...
far-right organized...
terrorist group of people.
Far-right terrorists. The native Irish citizens that have been there in their families for generations are now terrorists.
Who want to harm immigrants. Country, and we have to take action now.
Wait, let me back this up again. What did you
in this country, and we have to take action now. We can't keep on calling them a small dangerous.
They got to take action now. So what are we going to do? Start arresting the native Irish people because they might
get the native Irish out of Ireland. How else could somebody invade the land?
It's sickening. I know.
How else do you replace the people who currently live there, Blake?
Yeah, you got to break down their culture and yes, change it all. And
this group of people, because it is an organized group of people who are radicalizing young people and encouraging
radicalizing young. If this guy didn't stab these kids in front of the school, none of this would have happened. We would be talking about Irish terrorists attacking migrants. Give me a break.
Go and harm others who are just living peacefully, who wants to live a peaceful life.
They just want to live peacefully and just...
I just want to peacefully stab 5 people, including 3 children.
As they take just full welfare and just leech off your system. It's amazing.
Yeah. This tweet here, Blake, I want to ask you about this. Yeah. This one says, where's my full screen? This one says, Conor McGregor is about to experience what happened to Trump under globalism. Endless investigations just to destroy him for not being woke.
Yeah.
What say you, Blake, about the similarities between Conor McGregor and Donald Trump? These are very popular, well-known, polarizing people. I will say my personal opinion about Conor McGregor is that he's been a little bit douchey, quite a bit douchey for quite a bit. I haven't particularly been a big fan of his, but, in times of trouble, look, on that movie Armageddon with Bruce Willis and all those people, those roughnecks off the oil derricks that gets catapulted on a rocket out to outer space to blow up an asteroid so that it doesn't destroy everybody on Earth. You know what? When it's a time of fighting, when it's a time of conflict and a time of great turmoil, strife, and cataclysmic consequences to inaction, you kind of look for the rough around the edges people, the ones that can put their fists up, the ones that understand what it means to take a punch and keep going and go even harder. The fighters, the tough people of your country. Trump, if anything else that we've learned about him, and I think Trump gets in his own way plenty of times. Had he just shut up during those 2020 debates and let Biden trip all over himself, not to say it would have went differently, because it doesn't matter who votes, it matters who counts the votes. By the way, go to CDC, go to which one? WHO. What? It's scrolling at the bottom there.
Yeah.
What is it?
CISA, or what is it?
Yeah, CISA.gov / for go to countervailing views, go to CISA.gov, CISA.gov / rumor control. Good God. The fact that we got to dance on eggshells to speak the damn truth, we're really through the looking glass here. But anyway, Blake, it sometimes takes the rough around the edges people to get things done. And if Trump does anything more than any politician I've ever seen, he punches back. He punches back twice as hard. And Conor McGregor, maybe he's not the hero that we need. Maybe he's not the hero we were looking for. But for the love of God, you need a fighter at a time when your country's being overwhelmed with people who are taking and people who are harming your citizens. So what do you think about the similarities between Trump and Conor McGregor?
Yeah, I think they're, both pretty much common sense, but they're, brash alpha males that aren't afraid to speak their mind. And I think that's refreshing. I think what people need to see that, and it really freaks out the establishment when they get called out on their BS. So, yeah, they might not be the most popular or sit well with everybody, but sometimes people have to hear it. That's the truth. So, yeah, there's pushback.
Deb is saying William Wallace is rolling over in his grave. Braveheart. Yeah, Braveheart. Yep. Dreamer saying that lady isn't Irish, but she did have Lucky Charms for breakfast. Yeah. So anyway, so that's what's going on over in Ireland. But if you go to American_media_, you'll see some other stuff, because other countries are doing this too. France is rioting. Spain is revolting. People are done. I don't know if you had any of those stories queued up or handy, Blake. I know I sent you a shit ton, but it's about Western Europe. We've been talking about Eastern Europe for damn near 2 years in a row with Ukraine and in Russia, but now it's like Western Europe is going, we have absolutely had it. And so you're seeing the Canadian trucker uprising, what you saw in Ireland start to go to France, start to go to Spain. These are all connecting countries. Well, I guess the UK is in between Ireland and France, but right in the same geographic area. It's not just America that's had it with this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have all those things pulled up, but just to make a quick correction, as much as I love Braveheart, William Wallace was Scottish, but they did ally with the Irish against England. That was the greater enemy. That's one of the best scenes in the movie, is when they teamed up to fight together. But Brian Boru is, I think, more of the kind of the Irish William Wallace of sorts. I think he fought against the Vikings, the Viking invasions.
There you go. So if he was in Minnesota at a Vikings game, would he get booed unmercifully like Trump? Yeah, it's so good. Everything's so silly. Okay, thank you for that correction. Yeah. All right, any final thoughts on this before we move into the lightning round with all of our other topics?
Nah, we'll have to save it for another time, because I've only got 20 minutes left. We can cover a lot of material in there. So, all right, but we'll see how this develops with the Ireland and Scotland, with Conor McGregor versus the establishment.
Spain, France,
yeah.
Germany has been overrun. America is overrun. Look, when the power goes out, this is the caliphate. This is the potential Islamic invasion of the world. This is something that has been going on, that Barack Obama has been pushing. It's something that the radical groups have been just looking for their opportunity. Every religious group has their faction of people that want to dominate, that want to destroy. We'll get to that maybe we'll just get to that right now, because it is connected here, which is why I'm thinking about it. But there is a plan in place, and I'm just curious who the puppet master is and when the order is given to see what happens. I think it could get really dicey. Let's just go to that story. All right, Blake. So connected to that,
Yeah.
and when the power goes out, and by the way, all of you, I hope you are ready for anything to happen when the power goes out and doesn't come back on and the sleeper cells are activated. I hope you all stay frosty. I hope that you are ready and prepared to do, to be a good citizen of this country and your state and your city, to defend the good people against whatever violence could happen. I mean, I'm sure 12 to 1,500 people that were butchered at a music festival didn't anticipate that was their day. So just be ready for any day. Blake, what about this one? Agree or disagree that there is no God worthy of worshiping other than Allah?
Well, I'm going to disagree. Now, Brian, I'm not as paranoid about some of the radical Islam elements. I think you watch a lot of Fox News and some neoconservatives, but there are some radical elements that definitely we have to be aware of. And there was a, crazy speech, and there are some crazy fanatics who will.
There's a lot of them, by the way. There's a lot of them, and I think paranoid isn't the right word. Kurt Cobain had a lyric off the Nevermind album, and it's just because you're paranoid, don't mean they ain't after you. So I think paranoid is you're sleeping. I think you're asleep at the switch on that. I think you should poo-poo the risk of this at your own peril. I am never going to take an offensive measure toward anybody, but I will defend with every breath I have to the bitter end against anybody that would seek to harm me and my loved ones. So I just, at your own peril, brush it off. I think it's much more of a serious threat than you've maybe been exposed
Brian,
to.
you're worried they're going to bring Sharia laws coming to the United States, and we're all going to be screwed, and they're going to wait for it, and they're going to sleeper cells everywhere, and they're going to try to assimilate us into their culture. But I think that's it's one interpretation. Sharia law doesn't necessarily mean they're violent and they're going to take over and force everybody into compliance under their religion. And I think you can make that argument.
That's exactly what it is, by the way.
No,
either pay your taxes or you're eliminated. They shake you down. It's a mafia. It's a mob. They come by and take their 10, 15%, or else they're going to slit your throat. They're going to make you swim at the fishies sea. I mean, what's going on in Minnesota? What's the
percentage? What percentage of Islam? Just out of curiosity, just give me a ballpark. Like how many?
I don't know the exact percent, but what is the enclave in Minnesota? Right. What city is that?
Oh, Little Mogadishu. That's the Somalian element of
what city? What city is that though? Is it Minneapolis?
St. Cloud. That's Little Mogadishu. Yeah, that's where. Yeah, they brought in all the refugees from Somalia, and it's been kind of a weird mix.
And you're talking Rashida Tlaib, you're talking the Squad, and look how they govern up on Capitol Hill. This is what's happening in Columbus, Ohio. It's what's happening in Dearborn, Michigan. You're getting enclaves everywhere, and you just got 9 million people flooded into the country. I encourage you to take it a little bit more seriously than just poo-pooing anything that's remotely tangentially related to somebody called a neocon, a conservative, or dear God, a Republican. Because they're not wrong all the time, but I digress.
You freak out like Fox News version of things going on with radical Islam or things that happen in Israel are very different than you would see it presented in other parts of the world. So I'm a little bit skeptical of all the fear mongering that they put out there. I don't think that all of the, Sharia law has to be interpreted in this very extremist sense. Now, there are some interpretations, but there are also different interpretations of Judaism and Christianity, which are also very violent. As one of the other topics that was in the stack was about Judaism and the interpretations of Talmud and the version.
Okay, so we'll start with Allah. We'll start with Allah.
Right.
We'll go to Talmud. Moving along fast. I don't know
where we're the chosen people, and our God is the best God, and we can do
every religion says that.
Bullshit. So yes, every religion, the major 3 religions, let's say the Western religions, not Buddhism or Hinduism or anything like that, which seem to be a lot more largely peaceful. But whether it's Christian, which dominated a lot of with the Crusades, you can have Judaism.
The Crusades were in response to an Arab invasion.
Okay, this is what part happened. Of it, but it's also taking over and forcing everybody under their religion, and what was done with South America as well. We can have, yes, and with Judaism and some of the interpretations of the Talmud, which would look at us as like animals, and Goyim, they're God's chosen people, they're the master race, and they can do whatever they want to anybody else. So
now I would challenge you to find master race in the Bible, but yeah, the Talmud has its issues. Let's get to the Allah guy.
Okay, yeah, we can pull that up. Absolutely, it's people,
and then we'll go to the Talmud guy.
Right. So let's. You shared me this, and this is very concerning. So here we go.
Hang on, got to double click.
And judge. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be a part of, Islam, and we will not stop.
Yes, you want to quick set this up? I got about 12 minutes, so go ahead.
It looks like this is near Times Square, New York. This is not Mogadishu. This is not Algeria. Yeah. This is not Egypt. This is not Sudan. This is not Turkey. This is New York City. Good.
Okay.
We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be a part of, Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it as if the Ummah depends on this, my brothers and sisters. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadan Rasulullah. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah, the God of Jesus, the God of Moses, the God of Abraham, and the God of the last and final prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
I would say there's nothing more sacrilegious than that guy saying that Muhammad was the God of Jesus. I mean, the wow. Holy wow.
Yeah, no, it's disturbing. He should not be in this country. Out. You don't embrace the Constitution. I mean, you can be religious, but you can't try to enforce your beliefs on everybody else. You don't want to be taking over and making those kind of violent threats. Bad news. So yeah, he's got to go. I agree. But there's different interpretations. Like it'd be like, not all Sharia law is like, extreme violence towards. There's many ways of looking at it. That's like saying, the Christians are all Southern Baptists or Westboro Church or, there's some very fanatical versions of, Christianity as well. So
I mean, they have their views, but what's done about it? They talk about it. They don't act upon it. They don't throw people off the buildings. They have their views based on their interpretation of their book, but people live their lives. A lot of people
died in the Inquisition of just the most horrific deaths imaginable that died in the guise of Christianity with Jesus. That's pretty disturbing stuff. The Catholic Church has probably committed more atrocity than just about anything else on this planet. You can maybe Genghis Khan. There's the Mongols. There's all kinds of different things, bad things that have happened on this planet.
Everybody should be protected from anybody who's trying to force their crap onto anybody else. Tell me about the Koran and the Talmud, Blake. Agree or disagree that the radical interpretations of the Talmud are worse than the Koran?
Yeah, it certainly could be. That's what I'm just trying to bring up that point. So we can't just say every person who's Muslim, who's, Sharia law, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad or violent or that they want to destroy all the infidels or anything like that.
Well, Sharia it's a conquering. It
doesn't have to be. No, I don't think that's actually true. But I think that's they try to twist that and to just make it sound like they're all radicals and they want to take over. And I think it's Fox News fear mongering to me. I don't.
That guy sounded pretty radical to me.
That guy, yes, absolutely.
A lot of people cheering along with him.
Westboro Church fanatics sound like fucking radicals that need to be kicked out of the country too. But that doesn't apply to all Christians. Not all Christians believe that.
There's 11 of those people. That was all of Times Square.
There's a lot of Southern Baptists, and there's a lot of.
There's not a lot of Westboro. There's 10 of them.
Right. Well, there's a lot
One of them died.
Southern Baptists. There's a lot of more extreme versions of Christianity that have different views of that. And everyone's going to die. No one's going to heaven except for them. There's radicals in all of these religions.
Yeah, but that's not radical to say the way to heaven is this way. Come down this path with me. Asking somebody and inviting them is different than invading and taking over and conquering. But tell me about the Talmud here. What do you have pulled up?
Well, yeah, there's some really, sick stuff. When you go back, thousands of years and you look at, ancient Hebrew texts, and it says, there's parts of it that say, Talmud says Jews have no adultery. I don't even want to read some of this stuff.
I know. I don't. It's awful. But say
Yeah.
it. You're very critical of them. So
no, I'm not necessarily. No, I'm critical
the Talmud,
of
I think,
Zionists.
should be critical.
I'm critical of Zionists.
Hypercritical.
I'm just saying that there's interpretations of Judaism which look at you as goyim. They would spit on you and think that you're an animal and that they should rule over you and that you're not even a human. And that you're there to serve them. They think that they're gonna all inherit us as they're servants, from God. So there's very radical interpretations in these religions. That's all I'm saying. So,
but I don't know how radical it is to just literally read the Talmud. To read it, it's pretty obvious how gross that is. There's line after line of gross stuff in the Talmud.
Sure.
Incomprehensible stuff.
Yeah, and the Koran, and maybe not so much in the Bible, but still.
Oh, okay.
There are radicals of every religion, and they should all be condemned. And I don't like but I don't think it just applies to one and not the others. So
the Old Testament is a very violent, strange. But that's not Jesus. That's the Old Testament. That's it's a very different component. The part that's not acknowledged by Judaism, the New Testament with Jesus, they for the most part, I believe, acknowledge he existed, but not a particularly positive opinion.
Right. And, but depending on if you really go down that rabbit hole, you're going to find all kinds of things. I mean, yes, the Jews killed Jesus and he had problems with the Pharisees and, they might have been there was corruption and horrific things. And human history is full of some very disturbing stuff that many people are not aware of. And,
okay. Anything else to say here? Because the Derek Chauvin story could have led today's show, and we barely have any time to even touch on it. But
we could, let's touch on it a little bit. Yeah, that's all I got on that. We'll leave it there for another time.
Agree or disagree, Blake, that the government wants Derek Chauvin killed in jail so that he can't plead? What say you? Agree or disagree?
I think, they probably would. I'm not saying that they orchestrated the attack because he was stabbed. He's in Tucson, Arizona or something. And
I beg of you to tell me why he's in Tucson. He's from Minneapolis, right? Why isn't he serving his time there in solitary confinement like anybody recognizes you would have to do, unless Merrick Garland's corrupt forces intentionally wanted to shank him and silence him. They wanted to Jack Ruby this guy.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be convenient for them, and there's problems with that story. And I know he alluded to something at the end of his trial, like there was more information. And we could go into that coroner report. And I think part of it, when we're kind of discussing this, one of the major things that went wrong with this is that George Floyd, he probably OD'd, but you were saying that he's most likely he swallowed his stash, which often happens. If people get busted for drugs, sometimes they swallow the evidence because they know they're going to go to jail for 20 or 30 years. So I think part of this is just it's the laws have to change. I'm very libertarian, so I think if people want to do drugs, they should be able to, as long as they're not harming other people. And if that wasn't a case, if they wasn't if you get busted with drugs, then it'd be like a 90-day jail, or if it be a smaller sentence, or we try to give these people treatment, then that wouldn't have happened. But if he overdosed because he was swallowing his fentanyl because he knows he's going to get in trouble, it was a perfect shitstorm, and half the country burned down for it. And it divided everything, and it's a disaster. And now Derek Chauvin, well, I'm not saying is a good guy, might have been kind of a bad cop, kind of an asshole, but hey, he was still protecting the community there, and he doesn't deserve to be in jail for this. And so, yes, he's stabbed. And if they bring out all of the evidence that happened during that thing, then maybe it's going to look bad on the establishment, who, were able to move their agenda forward by, defunding the police and getting the country involved in basically, race riots everywhere. So it's more divide and conquer.
What is the name of that documentary that just came out? The Fall of Minneapolis? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I have to watch it. I haven't seen it yet. So it should be
the first 20 minutes, it's all footage that should have been compiled in that way from the minute he goes into the store. He's high as a... Anyway, you got to watch it, and it's awful. And I have so many points to make on it, but I should probably finish it. But
well, you can, because I'll have to leave. I got to step out here in a few minutes. You can carry the show and give your full take on it. Yeah.
Yeah, Jocelyn, Chauvin was seriously wounded in a prison stabbing, or did he just happen to have severe bleeding while a sharp implement was coincidentally embedded in his torso? Yeah. I mean, this is intentional, and there's nobody that should allow him into general population. Nobody.
Right.
Same with Epstein. There's no, these are hits. This one is under Merrick Garland's watch. There is no excuse for allowing that to happen. But yeah, you watch that footage of the Fall of Minneapolis in that documentary, and it's clear he's saying, what did he say? I can't choke. He was trying to say, I'm choking. I can't breathe. He freaked it. He had a panic attack. Some random guy on the road is, I think the random guy might have even known him. I don't know if he said, hey man, or George or Floyd, and said, calm down. You're going to give yourself a heart attack. Yeah. Well, and then one of the still frames shows what looks to be the stash that he's swallowing on his tongue before he starts having the situation. I just, I said this when it happened. If you were subduing the guy and you're waiting, because they called the medical squad, they called for the EMTs 30 some seconds, I believe, after he squirmed out of the cop car. He refused to go in. All they wanted was to get him in that door and close it. If the other door was just closed, you would never know this guy's name. And he would either be alive. Nobody was whooping him unmercifully with batons and choking and kicking and prodding and shooting. None of that happened. He was eventually starting to kick the officers because he was freaking out. He didn't want to go back to jail. He just had COVID. I don't want to get shot. It was very troubling to watch the first 22 minutes, the first segment of it. But had this information been widely shown to the people of the country and go, man, these cops were just they were protecting their community. He robbed that store. He's sitting in this car. They go up on him. He wouldn't put his hands up, so they had to draw the weapon. They didn't use it. They got him out, and he just freaked out, and his heart exploded. I just wish they could have had him restrained with his wrists behind his back. If you could have done something to the ankles and then attach the ankles to the wrists and get off of him. If it was on the upper shoulder, they said they were following the techniques that they were taught. And then you throw now Chauvin's getting assassinated. They're trying to off him in Merrick Garland's justice system because he was. It's sad across the board. It sucks. I hate that any of this happened, but I encourage people to watch it. I'm only 22 minutes in, and it gets you. It gets you fired up. It makes you sad. It makes you angry. It riles up all sorts of things.
But apparently, they don't have the footage of the actual when he actually dies, which is kind of odd that they would not include that part of the film, maybe the most important part. And that kind of, fails to persuade some people.
Well, in a way, between the still images and the only footage you were allowed to see while America burned, I feel like people saw that part. They saw that part plenty. Yeah. The other stuff they didn't see. It's like, how did you get to, just some cop comes in. It's like the guy that arrested him, I believe, is a black guy. It's just, I don't know. It's just sad.
It was a big mess. And it's sad that we can't, and we always rush to judgment without getting all of the facts in. And the fact that it was weird that the whole country just broke out on all these race riots because they thought it was just, white cop just executing a black man in cold blood in the streets, when that's not what happened. There was so much more to the story, and a lot of people didn't get to see a lot of that footage beforehand. So they held on to the evidence. That was weird. And I think, there's probably something to do with, Keith Ellison. He's kind of a shady character there in Minnesota. And I'd like to see this all reinvestigated. But And then you got Derek Chauvin getting stabbed. It seems like they'd prefer, dead men tell no tales. And there's more to it, and they seem to want to, have this specific narrative, and they don't want to have that threatened, and they don't want to look like the bad guys for, holding on to that, like the J6 people. It's a lot easier to control the narrative when you have all the video evidence. But anyway, it's my time to go. I'm running late already, but it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Brian. You can carry that out. That's the only story I didn't get to. You can cover that video. More Joe Scarborough freaking out about stuff about World War III. It's just so ridiculous. But it's sad. The MSNBC clown show and all the people agreeing on the panel. You got to check that out. It's hilarious. If it wasn't so sad. But thank you all. Been a pleasure. We'll do it again Thursday. Can't wait. Take care. I'll see you next time. I'm out.
All right. There goes Blake. And we're going to do an interview, I believe, waiting for final confirmation. We're trying to do an interview on Truth Social. We got invited to do an interview talking with Timo. Okay. Should be good. Thanks. There, I think we just confirmed. So there should be a Thursday interview with Talking with Timo show. Not particularly familiar with it, but I like talking to other people and cross-referencing content, and they reached out and we said yes. So check out Blake and I's appearance on there. I don't know, maybe I'll try to record the Zoom meeting and have it as well. Maybe we could cross-post it, promote their show. So this one here about the world, agree or disagree that the world could spiral into World War III without Biden as president. Yeah, it's spiraling because of Biden as president. Joe Scarborough, this is from Gateway Pundit, Joe Scarborough of MSNBC's Morning Joe program recently said that the world could spiral into World War III if Joe Biden wasn't president. Hyperbole much, Joe? Has Scarborough not noticed that this already seems to be happening on Joe Biden's watch? Scarborough may be an idiot, but even he knows what he is saying is pure gaslighting here. The world was a far more peaceful place on Trump's watch, and it's all flying apart at record speed under Biden. Scarborough knows this. So the only conclusion one could reach is that he is lying, and he knows it. Well, he's lying, but he also understands that in the Nuremberg trials, you don't really get to kind of plead ignorance and wash your hands of participation. I think they're really concerned about the retribution of the treason that occurred to oust and fortify 2020 to remove the current sitting president, or the sitting president at the time. It was a coordinated effort. Oh, that's just politics, you may say. Well, I think some case could be made that it's not just about politics, that it's something deeper and more nefarious. So MSNBC host Joe Scarborough said Monday on his show Morning Joe that if Joe Biden were not president, the world would spiral into World War III. Scarborough said, Claire, I'm so glad you talked about marketing because the crisis we're going through right now, where the world could actually, the world could really spiral into World War III, but it's not because a guy who's actually had 50 years of experience. It shows a contrast between a guy obsessed with marketing his brand, a guy obsessed with gestures, a guy who governed by gesture, versus, Joe Biden, who has 50 years of experience. And when a deal goes sideways on the hostages, he can pick up the phone, he can call, he can get it done. By the way, where the hell are the Americans who are taken hostage by Hamas? Where the hell are every single one of our hostages that Hamas has over in Gaza? This was everyday news back when it happened under Jimmy Carter. You do not allow American hostages. You do not negotiate with terrorists. You do not placate and you do not sit idly by. Whatever the hell's happening right now, it's on the level of a wide open southern border letting 9 million God knows who waltz through. It's on the level of handing Afghanistan all the bases, all the equipment, and all of the lives lost. This is intentional chaos from Biden, from Obama pulling the strings, from Obama's globalist lackeys. Pick up the phone and call and get it done. They should have all been returned by now. Scarborough continued, when he meets with President Xi at a critical meeting, they have experience, you know? They've got over a decade of experience working with each other when both of them were number 2 in their countries. Experience matters, just in case we need to.
So much worse. Speaking of language, you should have heard me the first.
No, please.
Actually, every second of the Alabama game. Final throw. Talked about marketing because the crisis we're going through right now where...
Well, anyway, I think you get it. How do I X out of that? Oh, that's the button I needed to press. Anyway, I think I just read the text of what was important there. It says this is further proof that Trump derangement syndrome is real, and it's not Israel, is real, and that it makes people irrational. Yeah, I mean, kind of wacky. There were so many stories that I had on the docket for today's program. Let me just scroll through, see if I can pull up the Blake file. I think it's in the Blake file. What did I have? I could just scroll. And by the way, if there's any story that I need to discuss that I haven't gotten to, tell me, please. Oh, I do want to share this one with you. Because this is a repeat story. You may remember this from 4 years ago. Guess what's back? Back again. China's back. Infect some friends. Guess what's back? Pneumonia's back. Sweeping China, causing people to overwhelm hospitals. Nah. Just in time for the 2024 rug on Twitter, Chinese officials are now encouraging people to wear masks, social distance, and stay at home. Here's the chaos. Let's go ahead and hear the chaos. I guess it's kind of quiet. China's health ministry is downplaying the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Saying the uptick in cases was caused by the flu and other known pathogens. Yeah, raise your hand if you trust China with anything. In the comments, Dreamer says, if I had $1 for every incompetent, experienced person I'd met in the last 30 years. Yeah, I recently reached out inquiring a certain position. I'll just leave it at that. And it's like, well, qualifications. Am I qualified? What does qualified even mean? And I thought back to when I booked a concert in my college, a $100,000 MTV Campus Invasion Tour concert. Was I particularly qualified? No. But I knew the people who were holding that position for the past few years didn't do a damn thing to book a big major concert to my college campus. And I was annoyed by it. So I got involved and I fixed it. I moved to Los Angeles. I worked at the world's largest talent agency. Was I qualified? Well, I mean, yeah, because I hired the same company, the largest talent agency, and I started working for them. I joined the Homeowners Association. Was I qualified to do that? I mean, no, but I recognized a need, so I did it, and I did a good job. I wrote for the school newspaper. Was I qualified? I don't know. Someone was already there. Someone did it last year. The point about qualifications is it's called the Peter Principle. People will rise to their level of incompetence, and then they stay there. Just because somebody is currently occupying a position, it doesn't mean they're any good at it. So a person will rise and say that they work their way through as a football coach and they get to offensive coordinator. Well, then they suck at offensive coordinator. Then maybe they stay there. They don't go back to where they were good. They kind of rise to their level of incompetence. In government, government is the ultimate where you can rise and you get into a position. It doesn't mean you're any good because you're currently holding that position. It just means you currently occupy that spot. So, yeah. Okay, so Deb is saying in the comments she would have taken people out of the chat for 5 minutes if they're posting bad content. Well, Okay, I think we post awesome content. I'm not sure which ones you would have timed out, but I generally don't even pay I let people talk. Let people talk. So this is from Kyle Becker. Is this sharing on the screen? I guess I got to double click. I wish they would fix this glitch where you have to double click the thing. It's like if I tell you to share the screen once, that is enough. That's enough for me. Let me see if I can change the setting. This used to be more full screen, but like, oh, there it goes. It glitched before. This is from Kyle Becker. Just in, Hunter Biden is willing to testify in a public hearing before the House Oversight Committee. Mr. Chairman, we take you up on your offer. Hunter Biden's lawyer, Abe Lowell Lowell wrote in a copy of the letter reviewed by the Washington Post. Accordingly, our client will get right to it by agreeing to answer any pertinent and relevant questions you or your colleagues might have, but rather than subscribing to your cloaked one-sided process, he will appear at a public oversight and accountability committee hearing. A public proceeding would prevent selective leaks, manipulated transcripts, doctored exhibits, or one-sided press statements, Lowell added. Much of the letter vehemently objects to the investigation of Hunter Biden, referencing previous remarks by House Oversight Chair James Comer. Your empty investigation has gone on too long, wasting too many better-used resources. It should come to an end, Lowell wrote. Consequently, Mr. Biden will appear at such a public hearing on the date you noticed, December 13, that's about 2 weeks from today, or any date in December that we can arrange. From all the individuals you have requested depositions or interviews, all you will learn is that your accusations are baseless, he added. However, the American people should see that for themselves. Okay. So get ready for the Hunter show. That one is on its way. By the way, follow us. We're at TNAM Chat on Telegram. I'm pulling these all off of Telegram. Okay, we were talking about hostages earlier and the incompetence, and we're talking about in World War III. So let's talk about it some more. Because if you want to look at the hostages, the few hostages who were actually released, this is very interesting, very telling, very Bo Bergdahl-esque, perhaps. I mean, not exactly, but. So, breaking, the first American hostage released by Hamas is tied to Hunter Biden's corrupt art peddling. Isn't that interesting? DNC megadona Hirsch Naftali put on commission that during No Legacy Obama administration doubled as. Okay. Put on a commission that during the Obama administration doubled as a foreign lobbyist operation. Okay, there you go. Isn't that special? You have Americans rotting over there, but you can get the money laundering, corrupt art peddling Hunter Biden associate removed. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/thenewamericanmedia. Need you to do all of these things. On Twitter, we're at American_media_. Follow Blake. He's at TV's Blake Walley on X and at thenextlevelnews.com. This is the story I was telling you before. I wonder if it's going to. Yeah, so Joe Biden is hardly talking about the American hostages held by Hamas. He and his administration can't even give a direct number, as if he's trying to appease. Oh, that's the other story I meant to tell you. In Ireland, the officials reported about a lost girl that was part of the that she was returned, that she was found and returned. She was taken hostage by Hamas. Whoever's running Ireland deserves to be indicted and removed from office immediately. Anyway, so Joe Biden's bragging that he's in direct negotiations. And here's American hostages. They were reported on nightly in 1979. Let's just, for comparison's sake, let's go ahead and turn the volume of this up and play. You cannot tolerate Americans being taken hostage. I mean, you drop the hammer. You want more of this crap to continue? Pussyfoot around. Putz around, wallow around, tiptoe around. You go in with a hammer. You do not negotiate. That's exactly how you get more of this behavior. This was reported on Nonstop, and this was, it looks like 11/11. Must have been, I'm guessing this was shortly after Ronald Reagan won in a landslide over Jimmy Carter in his weakness and his ineptitude. Reagan came in and stopped this stuff really quick. And by the way, let's all say a brief prayer to whatever denomination you happen to subscribe to. Talking about how this is kind of right on the cusp of Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, Grand Architect of the Universe, Spirit, Supreme Being, Jesus, whatever you want to define as your spiritual guide, we call out to you that the American hostages not have to wait a full year till real leadership enters the White House again and Donald Trump becomes president once again. Return all of these Americans immediately, safely. In your name, whatever name it is you choose to say, amen. Because could you imagine if these people got stuck there for a year? Hang on, I did the full screen. Why is it not doing the full screen? Doggone it. I'm glad I have this. It's got a whole report here. I pulled it up to share with you and everything. You weren't supposed to be looking at me. You're supposed to be looking at this guy. Seriously, the double click on the Restream app is so beyond frustrating. I click it and then it takes me off the screen and I'm staring at a screen. I think this is the screen that's being shown to you. Anyway, here it is.
This picture tells it all.
Media? Where is the American media bashing Biden every single effing day? Every single day until every American is returned. The kidnapped Americans. The kidnapped Irish lady who they said was lost. She wasn't lost. She was stolen and kidnapped. Where is the American media doing this to Biden every day?
This flag was apparently taken from someone's office inside the United States Embassy. It was burned Tuesday evening outside the embassy's gates. To the Iranian demonstrators who set fire to it, this was a symbol of victory. 2 days earlier, several hundred young people, mainly students at Tehran University, had taken over the embassy. We are not occupiers, they said. We have thrown out the occupiers. But instead of chasing all the Americans out of the compound, the Iranians imprisoned them in a building somewhere on these grounds. They have been hostages ever since. This morning, for the first time since the hostages were put under lock and key, one of the captives, blindfolded, was brought out into the open.
He is Harry Rosen, the embassy's press attaché.
He was turned to face reporters and cameramen and several hundred Iranian demonstrators outside the embassy's gates. Yankee, go home, they cried, but they made no attempt to harm him. Eventually, he was led back to join the others who have been kept out of sight.
There you go. That was round-the-clock coverage of the hostage situation back in the day. Why are we not covering this every single day? Biden, his ineptitude, this is just insane. By the way, I did just see a story where Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton just got off a plane with Joe and Jill Biden. I think they're both saying that your time is up. Maybe Kamala is going to step down. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think Hillary and Michelle Obama are in the mix for 2024. I just wanted to tell you that up front. Be prepared for that. Here, let me get out of this spiral story. I mean, I guess these are all kind of about America spiraling. Here, let's just leave it up. Here's another story off our Telegram. We're TNAM, T-N-A-M, and TNAM Chat. Follow us at TNAM and TNAM Chat. This is related to the article. I was hoping Blake was going to pull some of these up, but, it's all right. This was 20 days of patriotic revolt in Spain. 20 days of struggle, resistance, and patriotism against the socialist dictatorship of Pedro Sanchez. This is on the heels of Javier Milei taking over in Argentina. The streets are packed. These are not professional agitators, so maybe they're not as loud and loud and organized as the left, because it is a cottage industry to be perpetually outraged by the left. Yeah. What else? A couple of Conor McGregor posts. Yeah, TNAM and TNAM chat. You got to follow us on Telegram. Spotify. If you could take a quick second and subscribe. We are search the Agree to Disagree show on Spotify and on Rumble. We are The New American Media. Please follow us there. YouTube.com/thenewamericanmedia. Yeah, let me pull up one more thing before I go. If there's any other stories I'm supposed to get to, please let me know. Just want to take you on a scroll of our Twitter timeline. If you're not following us, you need to do so, please. I don't know where to even start. So yeah, some more Conor McGregor. We'll keep an eye on that. Oh, let's do my profile. At American_media_. In the comment section, let me know, are you still following us on Twitter? Are you following us on Twitter? So we go Ireland, Conor McGregor, the Gardaí going after their own people. A lot of Conor McGregor. Hey, here's our feed. Some Ohio State stuff. Yeah, they're saying attempted murderers are among the Palestinians being released. Check out that story. There's our mystery pneumonia story. Representative Matt Gaetz is demanding that Secretary Frank Kendall reveal who at Team Minot Air Force Base or elsewhere decided to tell service members that their military careers would be jeopardized if they attended a local event featuring Turning Point Action's Tyler Bowyer. I want to know what specific actions the Air Force will take to ensure that service members' constitutional rights are not violated in the future. Thank you, Representative Matt Gaetz. Yeah, text messages and emails from command show a growing politicization at installations within the Department of the Air Force, favoring one political party or political view. Matt Gaetz is also calling for anti-corruption plan that includes a ban on congressional stock trading, a 12-year term limit for Congress, and a ban on political donations from lobbyists or political action committees. That sounds pretty good. Matt Gaetz is also pointing out these illegal aliens, designer clothing, iPhones, not exactly the humbled, huddled masses, mostly just people playing America as fools. Close the border, deport them. It's over 300 migrants moving into San Diego airport after the border city was hit by an influx of crossers. These are all military-aged fighting men. That looks like one lady, and I don't know who's next to that lady. But these are men. A potential batch of sleeper cells. Unvetted. Oh, yeah, but the Patriot Act. They want you to take off your shoes on the airport. Yeah, they want to illegally spy on your cell phone and your email. But they'll just let millions of people flood the country. Give me a break. What else here? Yeah, that's a good point. If Matt Gaetz would have pulled that fire alarm in Congress, he would have been in jail and kicked out of Congress, and those are facts. Why hasn't that Democrat been kicked out of Congress? That's something you do in college. It's not something you do as an adult. Juan Williams, Fox News senior political analyst, named Matt Gaetz the politician of the year. Gaetz deserves a place in history. He is a living monument to an era of elected Republican officials with no interest in governing. Well, Juan Williams is kind of trash, but I think Matt Gaetz is one of the few that's saying and doing some of the most important things that we need in this country. They're saying Matt Gaetz introduced legislation to impeach Kamala Harris as well as Joe Biden. Okay. I mean, what are we waiting on? Border dereliction of duty is enough to impeach right there. You don't even need to find the finances and all the money laundering and the graft and the kickbacks. Yeah, you could do all that too, but Matt Gaetz is calling for an investigation into the stiff sentences that Tanya Chutkin rendered for the J6 defendants. Yeah. Mostly peaceful protesters. Yeah, and so Senator Rand Paul and Congressman Jim Jordan have introduced a bill to ban government censorship of constitutionally protected speech in the United States. That's tweeted out by Proud Elephant, and the New American Media here says it's already called the First Amendment. Why must we be so redundant? It's a blanket that covers all of this stuff. You shouldn't need to pass special legislation. Jim Jordan said big banks are closing branches in multiple states. Commercial real estate is on the brink. Consumer sentiment is dropping. Americans tapping into their savings accounts and coming out of retirement. Interest rates are high. Bidenomics is not working. It's bankrupting America. Jordan also said New York retailers lost $4.4 billion due to organized shoplifting in 2022. Store owners say there's no end in sight. Democrat leaders have abandoned them. All right, so then here's a story I'm sure Blake would have got into. This is exposing tunnels underneath the hospital. For every video, for every article that says, look, here's the tunnels, you'll see another article that says, no, Israel built the tunnels. No, there might be tunnels, but there's nothing in there. Yeah, there's stuff in there, but the stuff in there they didn't put there. Well, the stuff that's in there was probably stuff Israel planted there. So who the hell knows what's going on? This Hillel Fold says, sure, let's just ignore the fact that this is what Hamas had stored in a tunnel under a hospital. Not a war crime at all. Not at all. Because using a facility like a hospital to stage your military operations out of is an internationally recognized war crime. Let me repeat it for those of you in Yorba Linda, California. It is a war crime to stage your military operations out of a hospital. He continues, sure, keep pointing fingers at Israel. This is a totally normal thing to find in a hospital. Well, I mean, you know. So yeah, more of this. David Collier, I phoned my local hospital today, asked them if they had 500-meter tunnels running underneath so terrorists could hide in them and use them to move around. They said no. This is a tunnel under Shifa Hospital. Day by day, you're looking more and more like a Hamas puppet. So there's videos. Tell me if you think these are true, if they're faked. Here you go. Former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak made a major confession on CNN about the tunnel found by Israeli soldiers in the Shifa Hospital. Israel had built shelters under the Shifa Hospital 40 to 50 years ago. There's another story about that. So tell me where you stand on that. So IDF says, is this enough proof for you? And this says, busted. Take a tour of the elaborate terror tunnel with spacious rooms for operations and living quarters under Shifa Hospital. Uses Shifa electricity and water. If you supported Shifa, you were supporting Hamas terror operations. And it's a 9-minute video they take you through. It looks like green screen right here. Just the way that it's like he's kind of on the, you know, you tell me. Is it believable? Is there something off about this footage? I don't know. You don't know much of anything in a war. But they're showing the flashlight moving around to try to show you where they... Anyway, I'm not going to show you 9 minutes of it, but check out the New American Media at American_media_. Daniel Rubenstein says, people still don't understand the point. The existence of this tunnel network meant that Hamas guys could carry out attacks from urban areas of Gaza and then escape undetected into a hospital and just chill out there for a while, looking super civilian-y. I did want to discuss this with Blake, but anyway, here's the one in Queens, the guy who's concerning We played that earlier. Yeah, so you're telling me that the great aunt of the youngest American hostage and first American to be released by Hummus is a buyer of Hunter Biden's art, who was then appointed by Joe Biden to the U.S. Commission for the Preservation of America's Heritage Abroad? Oh. Mainstream media, as usual, not showing this and the Spain revolt. Yeah, let's just show you what some of this is. Protests in the streets, running and yelling, smoke. Tap. Oh, there you go. There's the bus on fire. These are trains. Oh no, trans. It says Spain. The revolt of the Irish people crosses borders. Spaniards show their support for the Irish against the do-nothing governments, which act against their own people. Da-da-da-da-da-da. This says left-wing governments had better be paying attention. Time is almost up as citizens start to revolt against them as what's happening in Spain. By the way, unbranded blocking has several ways around it. I'd much rather post what you claim and share it with my remarks. I don't know what that means. But, yeah, this is Madrid, Spain. Boom, anti-separatist, anti-government lies, stunning scenes. Thousands hit the streets in monster anti-government rallies. Oh, that's a good song by Muse, but it'll get us flagged. It would seem the world is waking up. The people will decide. So not entirely certain if that's an accurate representation of this. Anytime you see a gathering, it could be for a football, a soccer parade, or it could be for something 5 years ago. Who knows? But I don't see a community note. But it does say exactly, it doesn't matter how many millions they waste to remake his image. He's always going to have the same campus conservative. Everyone loved to. I don't know what that is. Okay. 20 days of struggle, resistance, and patriotism. I showed you that. There you go. Blake Walley retweeted this. This is Green Party Senator Pauline O'Reilly. She's going to restrict freedom of Ireland. This is the story I wanted to get to. Doggone it. See, if we had a producer, this would have all been put together. And Blake does a great job with the thumbnails and finding the stories, but we're trying to kind of connect the dots and lump 2 or 3 accurate stories together in the same spot. But this is Hummus kidnapping a 9-year-old girl from a sleepover and held her hostage for 50 days, almost 2 months. The Prime Minister of Ireland posted that she was lost. He never mentions terrorism, never mentions Hummus, and never condemns them either. Guys, we're well past the point where we can call this attitude tone deaf. Varadkar's gentle silence is the willful and deliberate support of terrorism, and any leader who engages in it must be ousted immediately for the safety of the people. Anyway, those are just a few of the stories I wanted to share with you before today's episode was completed. Follow us on Twitter at American_media_ for more breaking news. We share stuff on X all the time. And you need to be on all the platforms with us. Rumble, YouTube, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. Go to Rumble, The New American Media. Do your search. Go on Spotify, The Agree to Disagree Show. On X, we're at American_media_. On Twitter, on Instagram, search The New American Media. I think it's Instagram.com/thenewamericanmedia. We're on Odyssey, ODYSEE. They back up everything that we do on YouTube because they're not legitimate business partners. They don't value our content. They don't value our newsworthiness. They don't value our autonomy. And I don't trust them. So follow us in all of the places. As I said, Telegram is a really good backup account. TNAM and TNAM Chat. TNAM and TNAM Chat. Facebook, do a search for The Agree to Disagree Show. Follow us in that private group. So special thanks to everybody in the chat room who added your comments. I appreciate reading them. It really makes a big difference to kind of adding context and flavor and toppings. If you put vanilla ice cream on a plate, that's cool, but you know, you're all the toppings, the crunch and the sweet and the caramel and the cherry and the sprinkles, the jimmies, somebody calls them, and the whipped cream and the hot fudge. Like, you guys make it much better. So we appreciate each and every one of you joining us. We do this show usually, I mean, pretty damn near consistently, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 p.m. Pacific until whenever. So we roughly went to about our 5 o'clock mark, our 2-hour show today. Special thanks to Blake Walley, who was with us for roughly over an hour today. Follow him at The Next Level News and TV's Blake Walley. So in between now and the next time we do a show, and once again, we're going to try to do that interview with Talking with Timo. That's a show, that interview set for 8 o'clock on Thursday. If I can get a link, I'll share it so you might be able to watch live, and I'll try to record it and post it on our channel afterward as well. Might be interesting. I don't know. I have no idea how it's going to go, but Wayne Gretzky said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Well, you know, you miss out on a potential great connection on every interview that you turn down. So I say, let's give it a shot. It'll be fun. Blake and I on the other side. We're not asking the questions of each other. We'll be listening to questions and responding with retorts. That should be a lot of fun. I look forward to it. So signing out. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care.